Hey Joshua, what's wrong?
I just don't know anything about Renaissance art.
Well, you're an idiot.
Wow!
Renaissance art was a new form of art in the 15th and 16th centuries, and it came out of ideas like humanism, patronage, and.
Is this Renaissance art?
No, stupid!
During the Middle Ages, people used to believe that art was God's doing, but during the Renaissance, this took a dramatic shift. With the revival of classical Greek and Roman texts in Italy, new ideas arose such as Neoplatonism and the divinity of man. People saw themselves as individuals who had great control over their lives. This led to the emergence of humanism, and many forms of humanism developed from this. Petrarch is often credited for developing humanism, and he thought he would revive intellectual achievement.
Humanism is the philosophy of individual ambition, which inspired the new art form in many ways. Men were often painted along with God, such as in The Creation of Adam by Michelangelo. These paintings were inspired by ideas like Mirandola's Divinity of Man, which said that individual men were free to choose their own path. This inspired Renaissance artists to pursue their ambitions and to glorify men for the ability to do so.
This is the David. During the Renaissance, wealthy merchant oligarchs, like the Medici, sponsored artists to paint works in order to increase their social prestige. This led to a style of Renaissance painting which depicted rich and powerful people as humanist idealists.
As you can see here, the birth of Christ took place in a ruined Greek temple while a bunch of wealthy Italian guys watched. Patronage in the Renaissance was a device that allowed artists to further explore their work and increase the prestige of their city's elite at the same time. In art like this, you can see that both the glorification of man, as well as the focus on religion. The Catholic Church were very large patrons for Italian painters in order to improve their prestige in an era when the Church was one of the most powerful forces in Europe. However, Italian Renaissance art should be considered more secular, despite being heavy on religious symbolism. It was mainly for the purpose of showing the individual to be as glorious as religious figures such as God and Jesus. It did not praise scripture more than it was used to show the prestige of wealthy people and high-ranking church officials. Thus, Italian Renaissance art focused on two key things: the glorification of the individual based on ideas of humanism and patronage, and the likening of such people to religious figures. And this is the fair on St. George's Day, a work of Northern Renaissance art. And this is the fair on St. George's Day, a work of Northern Renaissance art.
As the Renaissance spread from Italy, it spread to other parts of Europe, specifically the North. The Northern Renaissance was different from the Italian Renaissance in several distinct ways, generally being that the Northern Renaissance was more religious and that the Italian Renaissance was more secular. In the Italian Renaissance, education was generally used for social gain, while in the North, education was generally used for individual gain. The Northern art was more detailed and religious, while Italian art started to include more nudes. The North also had an emphasis on science, medicine, and math, and universities were prevalent in the North.
There were several new developments in creating art, such as using oil on a stretched canvas as a new method for creating art. The development of linear perspective was used to make a two-dimensional painting seem as though it was three-dimensional. This was a significant break from the past, as until this point, art had been disproportionate and two-dimensional.
Renaissance artists also began to use light and shadow to create more realistic art, with new techniques such as fumato to expertly blend colors with each other. Lastly, the use of pyramidal composition created focus on a specific area of a painting as a way to direct the viewer's attention to the focus of the art. These new developments allowed for the creation of more sophisticated art that are now recognizable symbols of the Renaissance movement.
And that's about it for Renaissance art.
But where's the conclusion?
Here it is.
Wow, that sure is a nice conclusion. I really liked your synthesis.
During the Renaissance, art changed to glorify the human form, as well as to promote education and individualism.
Also, new art techniques.
The ideas developed during the Renaissance continued to be influential, and these developments helped establish the society that we live in today, one where we see our individual selves as the controllers of our fate. The humanist ideas developed through Renaissance art show that life is more than a passing phase onto death, and that we should treat it with as much ambition as possible. Now that's not how you make the pizza!